Hey, hi everyone. Good to see you. I'm Jonas. I'm going to go through something. I don't really know what it will be today. I don't do skydiving. I don't do sort of free mountain climbing. This is how I get my adrenaline. Put myself up here. I don't know what's happening this hour, but let's hope we'll have some fun. So, brief introduction. I know you didn't come to see me. You came to see the code. And as I said, there will be code. There will be a few slides, but there will mostly be code. So if you're interested, make sure you find one of the front seats here. So this is me. I've been an MEP, and then you feel like this cool for about 2 days. Then it's back to normal work again. Normal work for me is I'm a tech lead at XrmToolBox in Stockholm, just a small company of 16 people. I've been working with XrmToolBox tools and the actual XrmToolBox platform itself since 14 something-ish. And strictly focused on dynamics from the CRM sides for the last decade. I've actually been a developer for a quarter century, which is a very strange thing to say, but yeah. Some contact information, you'll find it at the end as well, and I guess you can know how the social media works nowadays. But I also have to mention this guy, Tanguy Tossard, who is of course the godfather, the creator, the almighty man behind the XrmToolBox. Twitter, XrmToolBox, or XrmToolBox.com. Enough about me. I will, by the way, continue quite high-paced. I hope you're okay with the English, that I'm, well, otherwise raise your hands and say, ah, what? Okay, so who are you? I want to know who I'm talking to. Have you heard of XrmToolBox? Raise your hands. Good, I like that. Have you used XrmToolBox? Oh, awesome. There are a few we need to sort of salvage here. Have you contributed to a tool? And by contributing, thank you, Andrew. By contributing, I also mean not just coding, but have you submitted a bug or a feature request or anything? Are you getting involved? Oh, okay, you need to work on that. You need to work on that. This is a community thing. Have you developed the tool? Good, Andrew. And Sergey. And a few more. Great. And since there were not many hands there, how many are actually considering yourselves being developers? Okay. And how many are here just because you don't know Russian? Okay, let's flip that. How many know Russian and are still in here? Thank you. You actually made a voluntary choice to get here. Thanks. Now you know me, I know you. Great, let's get started. This will be a packed hour. My ambition for this session is that you will all learn some basics of how to create an XrmToolBox tool. We will have a look at the Visual Studio project template that makes it so much easier than to have to start setting everything up from the start. We'll look at the structure of the project, how it looks, and what things you have to define and so on to get started. Some debugging, how do we do that? You have to also do a bit manual fiddling there to get it working. And of course, the asynchronous calls, you know, since almost every one of you have used XrmToolBox, when things take time, and we're working against the dynamic CDS platform, things take time. I learned that even a decade ago. 10-second rule, click something, wait 10 seconds. So we don't want the application to lock, and that's the behavior of WinForm applications. It will lock and freeze everything if you're just locked in that process. So that's why we call dynamic side asynchronously. And have a look at some of the interfaces exposed by the XrmToolBox sort of package that you work against to make it even more fluent within the XrmToolBox platform itself. If we get a bit further, some bonus, taking it to the next level, look at some third-party tools or controls rather, so that to make development even easier. We can, I think it's more or less like building Canvas apps, but XrmToolBox and in Visual Studio. I don't know if you will agree, but we'll see. Integrating with other tools. There's a standard message format, so you can communicate with other tools. The most obvious thing, of course, from my perspective, is that many tools query data from Dynamics, and you use FetchXML to query data from Dynamics, so you integrate with FetchXML Builder. If you've heard about that, raise your hand. Thank you. I need all the sort of boost I can get here. Because I wrote it, if you didn't know. Okay, also about publishing your tool. We will not publish the tool we create today. It will suck, but it will be a start. But I'll at least talk you a bit through it. And then, of course, the thing I sort of think are really important, polishing and branding. You don't want to just put it out there in a V0.1. You want it to look good, to feel good, and you want it to be sexy. So that's almost what I have for the deck. I want ideas. What shall we build today? And this is, by the way, where I say bye-bye PowerPoint. And start the favorite tool, Notepad. Hit me. What shall we build?
Solution merge tool.
Solution merge tool. Oh. By the way, I have exclusive rights on selecting the tool we build here. I know I might guide you a bit. There's no voting, no democracy. Okay, but this has a good acronym. This is already the SMT. Great. Anything else? And I guess by solution merge, you have two unmanaged solutions. You want to create one solution containing all of it, right?
Maybe manage solution remove tool.
Manage solution remove tool. I think there's already one of those out there.
It does not work again.
I think it's Tanguy who created that. You should. Did you submit the bug report?
No.
Oh, come on, come on. Remove tool. Anything else?
Component dependency.
Component dependency checker. Yeah. And what should it do that isn't done in the out-of-the-box feature?
Yes, it does, but it would be kind of great, simple example.
Simple, yeah. What do you say? Component dependency. Component dependency checker. All right. Then, of course, I know how to create the tools. You'll have to help me on sort of how to implement these features. Just for since I have three ideas here, I just want to show you a few of my sort of samples. Maybe you'll think one of those is better, and then we can do one of the pre-prepared ones. Huh? No, just some things. GDPR, we love it, right? Bulk delete data. Sorry? Well, do you ever deal with anyone from the EU? Well, since I'm here, I'm subject to GDPR for Smart when they registered me. This is a favorite, convert dialogues to Canvas apps. Nick Dolman said, "Hey, we need that." Yeah. Does anyone have any idea how to do that? I don't. I think there's actually someone who started thinking about this by doing just the XML transformation stuff. That's beyond me. Duplicate record finder is another idea I've had in another session. Simple data view, I just want to show the data. I don't have to start my model-driven app, blah, blah, blah. XrmToolBox is always open anyway on my laptop, so why go to the actual Dynamics platform? Solution component locker. Yeah, when you are delivering your solutions and managed, the default behavior is that any component you add will not be sort of put in a managed state, which means you import it somewhere and anyone can edit those components anyway. So I want, for my sake, is, okay, I have this solution, lock everything down. Don't know how to do that really. Well, it's just a lot of looping, but it's so many different component types, so it gets messy. Easy solution builder, well, that's maybe adjacent to the merge feature, where you just pick your components the way you like. You just basically scrap the out-of-the-box solution manager. Okay, but I think I kind of like the first option there, the solution merge. Was it who suggested that? No one? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay, so shall we start building that? I vote yes. Okay. And you who know Russian, you know English too, right? Thank you. So I will start by firing up Visual Studio, and I hope I set the resolution, blah, 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 so that you can see it. But before I can do that, I need that project template. So there's a super easy way to find that. I better click this. I go to Visual Studio Marketplace, marketplace.visualstudio.com, and guess what we're searching for? XrmToolBox. And I actually have internet connectivity, that's great. So this is the project template. You just click download, install it into Visual Studio. Super easy. Of course, I've already done that for you. So I will start my Visual Studio by creating a new project. Can you please raise your hand if I'm going too fast or I'm just saying stupid things? That does not apply to Chris. Please shut up. And I will search for my XrmToolBox project template. So this will set things up for me. I will create the project name. This is my solution merge tool. and it will be in a, I love it when you confuse the terminology. This is a Visual Studio solution. Okay, my awesome tools. And I think these are best created under the, yesterday we had a sort of tour around Kyiv and we saw this portal of something, but we renamed it, it's now the portal of awesomeness. So that's where we build our tools. Shh. Don't go there. Okay, can you see anything? We got our project. I will try to find this awesome Zoom thing. This is our project. We have a solution merge tool project with a few files, my plugin control, and some settings and so on. I'll just briefly look at that, and we'll start in the packages config. You know Nugget packages, what that is? Raise hands, no, down, okay. This basically defines what do we need outside of the standard .NET framework features available. So this adds a lot of Microsoft CRM SDK dependencies. It adds the XrmToolBox package here, which is what we're actually consuming for the XrmToolBox specific things. Let me see if I can get out of the Zoom here again. Yep. And then we have this tiny file called myplugin.cs. This is metadata, the information about my tool. What's the name of it, and sort of which color should the background in the list have, and the icon and so on. So the name of this is, of course, a solution migration tool. Sorry? Oh, not merge migration. Sorry. Jeez. I don't know what I'm building either. Just keep the default colors. There is some sort of stub code here if you are loading other assemblies that are needed and so on, but will not do anything else than that. If I click start, let's run this. Just from this, it will of course say, you idiot, this is a DLL, you cannot run that. You have to specify which program you will start this with. So we go into the properties of the project, there, and define for debugging. We will start an external program. And I will try to find, yes, is it too small? Well, move up. Why do you sit back there? There's a free seat here. I will try, yeah, I will zoom when there's something important. And now, honestly, I have to admit I forgot where I put my open folder, where the project is. Okay, under source repos, let's do this. So I will select which program to start when I run this. And find the SMT, then debug, and there's the XrmToolBox exe, because this is what we're running, and I'm not renaming it. So, okay. So when I run this, it will start that program. XrmToolBox works with a default storage folder that's somewhere under my user, app data, blah, 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 blah. And we can say, no, I want you to use the tool I'm building right now, which is in the current folder. So I'll say override path. This is of course available in the documentation on XrmToolBox site. Just go to developer documentation something. And just put a dot there, which means current folder. Now I should be able to run it. So if I hadn't been speaking all the time, I would literally have created a new tool in 1.5 minutes. And where is it there? And of course it prompts me to download tools. I will uncheck this. Do you get annoyed by this plugin store pop-up that shows up every time? You know the trick? This is actually a sort of checked pressed down button. If you unpress it, it will not open next time. Yes, you can ask Tengi why he did it that way, but I think it's more of a Windows standard layout thing. And it will say I have a new version. I have no recently used plugins, but solution merge tool. Doesn't really work, but it's there. Thank you. When I start this, I'm prompted to connect to an organization. Since this is an entirely new sort of environment, I started from this folder. I don't have any connections. I don't remember the connection info, but of course, I hope you are using connection files properly. I store my connection files on my OneDrive, so they're always available, and I have my XrmToolBox lab connections here, so I don't have to write them every time after each reinstall and so on. So I have my sandbox, I can connect. And with the project template, you get some default, just a sample button, try me, and it will get 26 accounts I have in my organization. So we know it can talk to Dynamics as well and so on. Great. But now for the fun part. We want to add this. Okay, what do we need? I think we need 2 solution pickers, because we want to merge 2 solutions together.
You can build 2 solution lists.
Yes, absolutely. Or I can be lazy. That's the primary driving force behind creating tools. I am lazy. I don't like doing things manually. I don't like doing things twice if I can do it once instead. So to start off with being lazy here, I will add some, let's see where we have nugget packages. Package for XrmToolBox controls, the third-party controls. I said that was a bonus, but I'm starting there because it makes it so much more easier. And XrmTB, I just have to remember this, something like this, yes. And this is something combined by Jim Novak, if you've heard of him, from the US, and some things from me as well there. So I install this package. I'll now get a handful of new controls to add to my form, hopefully. You're all crossing your fingers or whatever. In Sweden, we hold our thumbs. What do you do in Ukraine? Do you cross your fingers or hold your thumbs? Anything. Okay, anything goes. Just don't, no. So I'll go back to my form here. This is my form. It's very boring. It has the try me button. I will leave it there. So I will go into the toolbox. What tools do I have? I have the common controls, buttons, and so on. Then I have the you can't see this. XrmToolBox controls here as well. So if I expand that, we will see attribute drop-down control, which means it's a drop-down where you can select an attribute. Attribute list control, CRM grid view, that's a sort of data displaying thing. Entities drop-down, entities list, filter, list, view, base, I don't know what that is. Global options, set list. So you have a few different types of controls that I can add and just hook up to my Dynamics organization and it will populate automatically. I love that, being lazy. So I will add, of course, 2 solution drop-down controls. Put one there. And let's put another one here because we are merging 2 solutions. Okay. So these have a few properties. Oops. And if we go down to the, this is really interesting navigation here. Some XrmToolBox specific properties for these controls. It's drop-down controls. It had a small refresh button there. I can tell it to automatically load data, so I don't have to press refresh. I'm lazy. I do that. Publisher prefix filter, so I can add my own prefixes if I want to filter it by that and so on. But I'll just say this, automatically load data. And I should, of course, do it for both my controls. Like this. Okay, come on. Then what I want to tell it is, we get a few different events and so on from the XrmToolBox package. And one of them is that you have updated your connection, which is also called when you just open the tool and you're connected to a Dynamics environment. So I want to use this to make sure that my solution drop-down lists are working out towards the correct organization. So let's go into the code. And this is where you all go, way! Oh, Jesus, you don't love code. Okay, so I have this, this event handler here. Update connection, and I get a new service and I get some other stuff there that I'm not interested in. It's a new service that I'm interested in this case. And some just stub code there from the template. But I have my solution something control dot service, I think it's called, yes. And I will just set it to the new service. And I will, of course, do it for the second one as well. Service equals new service. Want to try it? Way! Jesus. So I have my solution merge tool. Oh, I just love this. Recently used, so I don't have to pick my connection and everything. Awesome. Oh, I actually think it worked. So I have my solutions here. I can select one, and then I can select the other one. Great. But we have no functionality. You imagine how much work it would be to actually, how do you query solutions from Dynamics? We don't like that. So, what do we want to do now? We want to, for instance, start with, well, we're quite data focused, so let's show which entities are available in the selected solutions, okay? So I will redesign this a bit and put them like this instead. And we can add the entity list control, I think. would be entity list control. So I can list the entities in the selected solution. And this was a really big control. I will have to resize it somehow. Put it out here, and then this one like this. Okay, and this one has a few more properties in the XrmToolBox section here. Auto resize column style, automatically load data. Yeah, we like that. And some, if we should show checkboxes for the entities. And to make this simple, we just want to merge them. We don't want to pick and choose what we merge. Display solution dropdown, no, because we could use that instead. Pick the solution directly in this control. Awesome. Let's just kill these off. I have it already in the entities list view control. So I will have the solution picker there, which should, I hope, filter the entities available for me. And let's just copy this so I have my two pickers here. Of course, my code won't compile now since I removed the solution dropdown controls. Be red. There we go. Instead, we are setting the entities list control 1 and the entities list control 2. Let's see how it works. Okay, so now I have this layout. It starts with selecting active solution. I can filter. Okay, this is very narrow. I should probably do something about the design here, you know, polish and brand and so on. But if I will start with selecting I have a really cool Rapp solution here. And if I click this, no, that was reload of that. Okay, cool Rapp solution, and I reload the items. I see I have 8 entities there. Great. And I could probably have some other solution here. Connected field service, maybe we should merge it to that. Sales. Why don't I have... I do want to filter this by only showing the unmanaged solutions. That would be great. I wonder if I can do that. I honestly don't know. I'm talking loudly, thinking out loudly here. But it would be great because I don't want to merge stuff from managed solutions that would not sort of follow the ALM story from Microsoft. Solution upgrade. Geez, I can't. Sarah's URS. Okay, Sarah's been doing things in my environment as well. So now I have 2 lists of at least entities. Then of course I have to expand this to show web resources and even down to component level, which attributes are included and so on. But I think this is a very brief example of how you can easily get started and you don't have to do everything from scratch. One more thing I want to show you in regard to this before we go into the other sort of metadata and polishing the thing. Is an easy way to display data also. So to do this, I would say, okay, when I select an entity, I want to be able to select a view for that entity and then display the data. Okay, now we're almost going into the easy data, whatever I call it. But we can, okay, I need to enlarge this like this and make these smaller. So I'll put there's actually, I saw something about a view selector in the toolbox here. Views drop-down control, awesome. So I'm thinking when I select an entity in the list above, I should see the views available for that entity. To start with, of course, I have to set the service. This was view something dot service equals new service. There we go, now it's connected. And then there should be this auto load data, yes. And include personal views, false, I only want the system ones. And then we have to set something. When I select an entity here, and I should be able to find that event on the XrmToolBox here. There's a bunch of different, I'll zoom in here as well, different events for these controls. Like begin clear data, begin load data, and load data complete and so on. These can be used to hook up this yellow panel so that you see, okay, I'm loading entities. Now I'm not doing any of that, but that's what they're used for. Instead, I'll go to the selected item change, which means when I actually click an entity in there, I will do some magic. And let's look at we want to update the view drop-down control. I wonder if that has any Parent entity, awesome. Maybe I can, parent entity. It should be an entity metadata object there. So I will set this to my entities list control 1. That should be a selected entity, awesome, which is of entity metadata. So I can just set this, and hopefully we should now see the views for the selected entity. Ta-da. So I found this resource requirement preference, yes, and there are the views. Okay, I got that hooked up. Now I want to, when I select the view, show me the data. Also, I'm lazy. I don't like clicking that every single time. So you know how to find the settings, you know how to use them. You want to customize this behavior for you. Close plugin silently, yes. Close XrmToolBox silently, yes, thank you. Now it won't bug me with that anymore. So we loaded the views. When we select the view, I want to load the data. I don't have any control to show the data in, but we will of course add that. Toolbox, CRM grid view. Ta-da. Oh. It's very invisible. What? Okay. There we go. Interesting. One thing I do notice when I work with WinForms and I have some scaling on my laptop, and this yellow bar here, hey, you're not using 100%. If I would be using 100%, you would have to sit here. So this is my CRM grid view, and I will change the layout. I'm starting to look at the polishing side. We want it to resize with the form. I can either use docking states for the controls or just say like this, follow the form, top, right, left, bottom. So it will look good. So now when I resize this, I see it follows the form. I need to set the service for this one as well, so it knows who it's talking to. And let's find this here. CRM grid view. And the thing with this control is it's a data grid view, which is a standard WinForm control, but it's possible to set an entity collection as a data source. If you try that on a normal data grid view, it will just say, I have no idea what that is. Dot service, it's called organization service in this case, new service. There we go. Okay, so now I want to hook up something to the select view event. What kind of events do we have for this one? We have a selected item change, great. So when I select the view, I should be able to get that view as an entity, because entities, they sound like metadata, but it's actually data. The boundaries between that is very shady. And I want to get the fetch XML from the view and set it as source to the grid view. Okay? So I'll just shoot from the hip here, data grid view dot data source equals, and this should be, we call the service, it should return an entity collection, so my service, and this service is available throughout the tool. It's just it's a property on the XrmToolBox sort of template code. I could of course use this also instead of setting it to new service in that event, but well, never mind. Retrieve multiple, this will return an entity collection, and what do I pass in here? Well, I need some sort of query base. One type of query is the fetch expression, which takes a fetch XML string as parameter, and I can get that string from my view drop-down control, selected item, selected view, and that is an entity, the SDK class, which means I should be able to do this, fetch XML. Then of course this doesn't know it's a string, I tell it it is. Whew. Are you having fun? Yes. Thank you. So maybe I should sort by some, let's pick it crashed. Why did it crash? You idiot, you didn't select a view and you tried to read the fetch XML from a no view, so you get a null blah blah exception. Of course, let's just kill it here because I shifted the entity, which meant the views drop down was cleared, but it still fires the selected changed because it is. So I just add a check here. If view control dot selected view is null, then set CRM grid view dot data source is null, and return. There we go. So this should work, and now we can hopefully see the accounts. Ten-second rule? No, that wasn't 10. So I will try to find my accounts again. And this is something I recognize a bit more. Doesn't have that many. The advanced find view was that associated. Let's see if we can find just active accounts. So, and we see here we have a few. This is primary contact ID. The columns doesn't say the display name, it's just the logical names, and the primary contact ID is just a GUID. We can do something to make it more readable. After all, there are users in the end that are actually going to use this, don't you think? So we have, I'll just sort it differently. Show friendly names. Well, I like that property name. So it will show the display names instead of the technical names. And I can also say I don't need to show the actual GUID of the record. I don't need to show the index column where it says just 1, 2, 3 and so on. If there's a daytime field, I want it to be in local time and so on. So go to the account. Well, you can already see here. We have account name, primary contact is the name of the contact, and so on. So makes it a lot more easier to use and easier to read. Right. I will now go into, is there anything more in this area, sort of how to retrieve the data, how to work with it, that you want to have a look at? Or should I continue into some polishing and making it look good? We polish. So if we look at this, the first file I showed you, we have the background color, primary font color, and so on. We have big image and small image should be base64 encoded. How do we do that? I actually have a few logos. We go to base64 image. Some German guy put this site up. So it should be super easy. I will just take my logos, and it should be an 80 pixel and a 32 for the big and large. So I have 80. There we go, and then I have 32. So, super easy. I copy this base64 encoded. This is magic, but it's super easy. I think this is also on the documentation site for XrmToolBox, so you get help here. A big image, it's not null, it's a string, and I paste everything. I didn't want to compose that, so that's why I use the tools. I'm lazy, did I mention that? So I will just remove the first part and want the actual code. Like this, and the small image, copy, ta-da, and put it in here. Do you read base64, by the way? I think it's quite close to Russian.
It's called Hungarian.
Oh, it's Hungarian, okay. And since I know what the logo looks like, I want to make sure I have a black background color and a yellow primary color. So this is, I just took my icons, it's transparent, and I mean, I have everything there. Oh, look. Isn't that beautiful? If you know anything about Swedish football, you know this is AIK from Stockholm. That's my favorite team. And they are black and yellow. So now I polished it a bit. Another thing I promised you is to look at the interfaces. We haven't implemented any of the interfaces that make this tool sort of blend into the toolbox even more. So I will go to the code for the plugin and add a few interfaces here. I know I have an iHelp plugin. It doesn't recognize it. I'll press my help. So now there's a help plugin, which means I will get in the XrmToolBox menu, I will get, okay, click here for help about the solution merge tool. So I implement this interface and I get a help URL. Throw new, not implemented. No, that's not good. And I'll just return the help URL. There should be 2 slashes. Like this. So if I run the tool, and now when I'm testing these things, I want to run without connecting, then it's faster. So now I have under about help, instead of just having the XrmToolBox help, I have the, and look at that site if it loads. Well, okay, so I can easily get that in there as well. There are a bunch of other interfaces. GitHub plugin, meaning it will be a link to the source repository and you will get the submit feedback and you can create new issues and so on. There's the most favorite one, PayPal plugin. Great, so you have to implement just, okay, this is my email address for my PayPal account and so on. And AI message bus host, which means I can communicate to other tools. And then you get sort of stub events that, okay, when I receive a message, this is how I should handle the parameters, and this is how I can send parameters. So I could actually do quite easily, take the fetch XML from the view I selected and pass it to fetch XML builder and open it there and see it. So time, 12 minutes. Let's see what else we had here. I promised you to show things. Project template, showed you that. Structure, what are the basic files that are included. Debugging, we did that a bunch of times. Async calls, we didn't do that. So let's. And the easiest way is to look at the code sample included with the template. So if I check what happens when I click this try me button, that actually just counted the accounts, it calls execute method get the counts. And this the get accounts is just a simple method in the code. And if you use the execute method instead of just calling it, then the XrmToolBox wireframing will make sure you're connected to a CRM organization. If you're not, it will prompt you to connect and so on. So it's an easy way of saying, okay, run this. I shouldn't have to carry my code if I'm connected or not. That will be handled by the XrmToolBox framework. So what you do then when you do the asynchronous call is that you call a work async method. This is also in XrmToolBox. So there's a lot of help in there to work with these threading and different async calls. So you call this, pass an async work async info class, which can have a message, getting a count. That's what will show in the yellow bar that shows up. And then the work that should be done asynchronously, you can pass some arguments to it. And this is what will happen here. In this case, it just performs a retrieve multiple of a count. Super simple, and it even says top 50. And you set the result of the thing we're doing asynchronously. Yes?
Can you zoom your code?
Absolutely. I think, yeah. So you set the result of this argument to the thing you are doing, because you are doing things asynchronously. You want something to return. I didn't see how much. 10. Thank you. And to be able to handle that in the post-work callback. So when we're done, I'm back in the thread. I'm the main thread, and I can look at the args if there was an error, show, okay, something messed up, and otherwise I can look at this result and parse it as the type I want. And you can pass any object to the results there. And in this case, it just shows you the count of the entities that was returned. So this is very important. Use this. If we would not use this, the whole XrmToolBox would freeze during this when it's performing the operations against Dynamics. In this case, just counting my 26 accounts is actually fast, but in other occasions it's not. Yes?
Is there any easy way to cancel the operation?
Yes, if there's an easy way to cancel the operation, there is actually. You can set, I think you can set it here. Is cancelable. Very interesting terminology, cancelable. Okay, and then you can have also, I don't have it on top of my mind, but you can define an on cancel method so that you handle it and say, whoops, you interrupted something. And if you set, okay, we did it. Now you need to have fast eyes because this is a very fast call, but you will see.
But maybe add some thread sleep or something like that.
Yeah, you could do that. Let's just try it for now. Because when I click this, I added the is cancelable. It should light up a cancel button here, I think. No, I have to implement that myself. Never mind. Then you can implement it, okay, when I'm canceling. And of course you light up the cancel button when you start the process here. And then you can sort of hook up and cancel a thread.
When you have agreed and you set data source, is it performed asynchronously or asynchronously?
When I have a, can you repeat?
When you set data source for agreed, when you as you've done for retrieve data
Yeah.
for you, so how it works, asynchronously?
That is asynchronously. And there's no automatic hooking up to showing the progress panels and so on, but it's done asynchronously.
Because I suppose that sometimes in some grids it's just frozen.
Yeah, when it's frozen, it's actually within the WinForm control when it has received all the data and tries to render it. So that's way down below my control. It's in the data grid view control. But yeah, it happens if you have a large data set. You saw the async, you saw the interfaces. We have used third-party controls. That's actually maybe the major part of the presentation because it makes it so easy to get started. Integrate with other tools. I mentioned it. I won't show it. Publishing your tool. What you do when you publish a tool is, to start with, you create a Nugget package. Hands up if you know what a Nugget package is. Thank you. And you publish it on nugget.org with your own ID and so on, blah, blah. And then you just add a tag to that, which is XrmToolBox. And then it will be identifiable by XrmToolBox. Then, of course, you go, once it's up there, you go to the XrmToolBox portal. You sign in. You have my Microsoft account here. This one. And when you're signed in, you can go to My Plugins, and this is where I see my plugins. Okay, you go to Plugins, and here you can add my plugin. So you click here, you specify the Nugget ID of the package you uploaded, and then you wait for Tanguy, or, well, there's a few of us who can actually have a look at it, and it will be validated. So if you don't have an icon, if you are not handling screen resizing properly, and once all that is done, then it will be approved and you will have a green checkbox and the people can start downloading it. There's also I've actually published a post here. Since I create a few tools and I update them quite regularly, I've created build pipelines and release pipelines in Azure DevOps to handle all this for me. So I check the code into or commit it to my GitHub account, and then in Azure DevOps, I press the button and I can look at the artifact in between to verify it's good, and then I do a release and everything will be automatically happening. I'm lazy, so that's... And it says 5 minutes. I think I should open up for questions now, if you have any more. No, just I have to show the sponsors as well, or the sponsor. This is me, where you can find information about this session. I actually wrote it before I did the session, but well, more or less the same. Of course, start there and you'll find stuff. And now, thank you, Microsoft, Smart, and XrmUG. But no, we thank them. Yeah, okay, applause to Smart. But any final questions or words? We have a few minutes if you like. Yes, Sergey.
I want to update the existing tool.
Yes.
What should do?
How?
How can I?
And you have the tool? You created it or something?
I want to update some existing.
Yes, I know. You should update the plugin auto updater. Yeah. Usually, if it's someone else's repository and it's available on GitHub or something similar, what you usually do is you fork it, you do the changes, and you create a pull request and hope that it's accepted by the author and that the author is still alive and sort of. If it's not, you fork it and then you publish it on your own name instead. But yeah, the pull request would be the proper way to go there. And I think you should. I told you more than a year ago to do it. Yes?
Can I use a new project file types, CSS project? Not old one which have packages
Oh,
separate?
I don't know, honestly.
You
I'm not familiar with that architecture behind the scenes there.
Sasha can create it.
Sorry?
Sasha can create it.
Great. And as I started with, how many have contributed? Start doing that. Because this is, I mean, just like if you heard Andrew before, this is a community thing as well. This is what makes it fun. And it's not just that I'm getting sweaty because I don't know how the demo will go, but I mean, the fun is interaction, and this is how it evolves. Without the community, XrmToolBox would be Tanguy's personal tool that no one else has used it. So, thank you very much.
Smart. Less stress. Joy of success.